Hi, my name is Robert Cook, and I'm a student at JTech. And today we're going to go over ignition and fuel system troubleshooting. First, we'd like to describe how the fuel injectors are powered and grounded. The fuel injectors are shown here. Power is in the red. It goes from the fuse panel to each fuel injector, and the fuel injectors themselves are grounded through the ECM, the engine control module. The next thing I'm going to do is the initial fuel pump operational check. And what I'm doing is turning on the ignition to verify that the system is initiating the fuel pump and sending a supply to the fuel injectors. How I do this is to turn on the ignition and listen. You may not be able to hear it due to audio issues in this vehicle, but I'm going to perform it anyway. It's extremely faint, but I do hear it. To test the power supply, you hook up the fuel injector to the power lead and to the negative lead, and then we turn the power supply on to make sure we're getting full voltage, which we're charging our battery now, which explains our high voltage of 14. To do is to make sure that our fuel pump is engaging. To do that, we go ahead and turn on our key, check to hear if our fuel pump kicks on and starts sending supply to our engine and to our fuel injectors. And there it is. You hear it whirring up and it's sending fuel to our fuel injector. The next thing we're going to do is a fuel injector sound test. The reason we do that is to hear that our injector is actually engaged. What we're going to do is we're going to take a screwdriver and we're going to put it on the injector and have the engine turn on. You're going to place it here, place your ear to it, and when the engine's engaged, you listen to hear it engage. Next thing we're going to do is perform a resistance test. The reason we want to do this is make sure that we can carry a current across the injector, and how we do that is we connect our special adapters into the actual injector, place our digital multimeter on resistance, and make sure that we can carry a current across it, showing that we have 13.3 ohms of resistance of this. Alright, the next test we're performing is our noise test. We do this to make sure that our injector is getting power supply and firing repeatedly as it's required. We'll catch the noise to the end and make sure that it flashes as you saw. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to test our fuel pressure with a fuel pump pressure gauge. Some of the concerns that we need to have are fuel leakage and overabundance of fuel in the cylinder. On our gauge, what we did was we turned our key over one time to check the pressure that built up inside of our system. Now we're going to check our balance testing. In that, we've already checked our fuel pressure, so we make sure we've got that hooked up here and that's still maintained. We're going to use our balance tester hooked up into our fuel injector port. And what that's going to do is it's going to fire our fuel injector, and we'll test each individual cylinder, checking the pressure after that cylinder has had its fuel injector tested. We're already set up. Our gauge is currently set at about 55, 56. And we're going to go ahead, after having this hooked up, we're going to set the test. And after it's finished, we record our results, which is sitting at about 15 p.m. Alright, so right now we're going to do our spark testing, and the reason we do that is to make sure that our coil over plug is getting proper voltage so that the plug can deliver a spark inside of the cylinder. And as you can see, we have our spark tester connected with our vehicle running, and we're getting a nice spark here. The next thing I'm going to do is check for voltage at the at the coil using a digital multimeter. I'm going to apply my lead to my positive here. My ground is already established, and I've got a reading of 10.89. We're going to check our ground path to coil. We make sure that we have our ground set up good here, and we have back pinned our fuel injector coil over plug, or not our fuel injector, but our coil over plug, and we connect this here. And with that, we should get almost nothing on our digital multimeter. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to check the signal wire at the coil using the oscilloscope. First thing we do is we find it on the engine performance diagram. That is our orange cord right here. It says gen turn C. After finding the wire, go ahead and back pin that wire and hook up our oscilloscope. Go ahead and turn on the engine, check for signal. Oscilloscope now shows us exactly how it's firing from start to finish.